Greg Sheridan from Rust Belt Basketball Coaches Network and the Basketball Nexus website. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. We have a coach from the great state of Colorado, Coach Nick Crandell from Basalt High School. And Coach is going to talk to us about his passion, which research and coach online, building programs that have a culture of discipline and execution and a large amount of student athlete accountability. So that immediately got my attention. So we're going to jump in here right away. And Coach, let's talk about your journey into becoming the head basketball coach at Basalt High School.
Sure. So, well, thanks again for having me on.
If you enjoy our content, please like, share, subscribe, and leave us comments on our social media postings. That helps us grow our small coaches network more than you could ever know. Thank you so much.
It's an honor to be here. So I actually started playing, like any other kid, just started playing, went to Rifle High School, which is actually one of Basalt's rival schools. Graduated from there in 1997. And I played basketball there all 4 years. I was played 3 years varsity, started for 1 year, but major role player on a couple of great basketball teams that Coach Roger Walters put together there at Rifle High School, and went into the Navy. And they took one look at me, saw my height, and was like, "Oh, you're on the Old Navy basketball team." So So I played some basketball up and down the Eastern Seaboard for the Navy, which was a great time. Learned a lot of great memories. And then I loved the game of basketball so much. I got into coaching, and I went through pretty much a grassroots way of coaching. I started as a youth basketball coach, a volunteer at one of the local rec department. Started teaching kids that are third, fourth grade. Was teaching them just basic fundamentals. And that was in a town called Parachute, Colorado. And that same group, I actually followed them all throughout their playing career, all the way up in the high school. And so I taught them their basic fundamentals. And then we went to, started getting more advanced with like plays and defensive schemes, more offensive schemes, out of bounds schemes, and all this other stuff. And I followed them up in the middle school at Grand Valley Middle School. And then when they went into the high school, I actually followed them up as a JV coach into high school. Eventually became the head coach at Grand Valley High School, where that's where I like to call it, that's where you get your drug, right? As soon as you become a varsity head coach, that's like, it feels good. And took that exact same group, built the culture, taught them the accountability, taught them everything that they needed to know, not just for basketball, but for real life. But I used the game of basketball to teach them that stuff. And I mean, it wasn't perfect. We had our licks, we had our growing pains, but that last year was at Grand Valley High School. It was our first winning season there in almost 10 years, just because of that. And then my journey took me to Basalt High School, and it was probably, even though it was not one of the best seasons I've had, it was probably the best season I ever coached. And the main reason being is it was something that I was able to build from the ground up, teach these kids my culture of accountability, extreme discipline, and letting them just play within those two boundaries, right? And these kids never played. They never played varsity, never had any varsity experience. So I had, let's see here, of all 15 of my players that are on that varsity roster, 2 of them are returners, and they saw 30 seconds a game. They were more of the like the trash time minutes, right? And so here I am, I'm asking these kids that have never played varsity basketball to go out there and go against people that have played 3-4 years as a varsity level basketball player, and I'm trying to get them to win. And what was really great was, especially with our culture, I started with 27 total, or 28 total players. And of those 28 total players, 27 stayed by the end of the season. And we are looking at, like, with our off season right now, we're looking at probably close to 40 players with our upcoming freshmen coming up, with our skills development and everything like that. And it's going to be the first summer that we get to really work on their skills development, really implement my offensive system with them, and really hone in on defense. So this summer is going to be very exciting for us. So
Very good. So in Colorado, are you ninth grade, junior varsity?
yes, yeah, we call it we don't call it ninth grader freshmen or whatever, that we call it the C team. So yeah, we got C team level, and then JV, then varsity. And yeah, I think we're going to probably have close to 30 upcoming freshmen for the C team. So
Very good. So do you have a C team A and B teams, or is it just one team?
yeah, we just run one team.
Okay.
Just it's just a lot easier to handle it this way. I mean, if we really get the number that we're thinking we're going to get, I don't see why we couldn't go like an A and B team, just or have a travel team and a home team, something
Hmm.
like that. So.
Very good. Tell us about, and this is something that a lot of people have asked me about approaching this podcast. What is your state tournament format like in Colorado?
So it's different. It's really interesting. They've been changing it over the last 5 years. For the longest time, so 4A, 5A and 6A run a totally different tournament schedule than like 1A up to 3A. 4A or 5A, 6A, they run like a 32 team pool. And it's just a massive tournament. And then 4A for a little while was just doing like regionals. They'd bring in their 32, but they run regionals, and then they would after regionals, then they would send everybody off over in the state. They still run that technically like that. 1A through 3A. They for the longest time, all the way up until about 2 years ago, they were running district playoffs, which was great, especially because 1A through 3A, a lot of smaller schools, a lot of rural schools, and this is something to really hang their hat on to get like some sort of championship or a banner to hang up in their gymnasium because and we can talk about this more when we're dealing with the Denver schools and the private schools. It's a little bit more difficult for these smaller rural schools to really make an impact in the state tournaments. But they recently dropped that and have went to the same format that 4A has, where it's you pick your 32 teams, do a regional playoff, and then you make your steps in the state that way, which is a little bit of a bummer. Hopefully they bring it back. So
Interesting. So classes one, two, and three have a different format than four and five.
well, not anymore. They all went uniform within the last couple of years.
Okay.
So and they all went with the same uniform that 5A 6A has been running. So
Where is your state tournament held?
so 3A state tournament is going to be held at the University of Denver.
Okay.
And then 4A, I want to say I think 4A, 5A, 6A are all held at the Coliseum, the Denver Coliseum. And then 1A, 2A, they go up to northern Colorado. I can't remember the name of I think it's the Budweiser Arena in Loveland, Colorado is where they have theirs. So,
University of Northern Colorado.
mhm.
Yeah. Beautiful facility.
Yes. So, and then what's really cool too is CHSAA actually for 4A, 5A, 6A, we got a floor for the Denver Coliseum, and it's customized for the tournament and got the CHSAA logo on it. It's pretty nice. So,
And University of Denver just joined the Summit League, which is a
mhm.
fantastic league. My goodness, that's going to be a great league to bring just to make that university a little bit more known throughout
Yeah,
the Midwest.
yeah, yeah.
Joe
They're
Scott,
very well known for their hockey.
right. Joe Scott had two different tours of duty at UD, and I've always
Mhm.
felt like Joe Scott was one of the best basketball coaches in the game, but
Yeah.
his kids cut harder than any other kids I've ever seen
Mhm.
who, I don't care if they're running Princeton or whatever, but they cut hard. My goodness.
Yeah.
Even when he was at Air Force, they cut hard.
Oh, yeah.
And it's interesting, you were in the Navy.
Yes, sir.
Well, thank you for your service.
You're welcome.
That's fascinating. If you don't mind me asking, could you tell us a little bit about what you did besides play basketball while you
So
were
I
in the
was,
Navy?
yeah, so I was I was an electrician's mate is what my trade was. I was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia, and I was on a ship, little Spruance class destroyer, which there's no more of those anymore. I'm really aging myself there. It was called the USS Briscoe, and the USS Briscoe's claim to fame, and people can look it up. We actually were part of JFK Jr.'s funeral procession off the coast of Martha's Vineyard. But what was it in 2000, I believe it was, or 99? I'm sorry, it was in 99 when he had that plane crash.
Yes.
And so we did the burial at sea for him, and that was one of our claim to fames right there. So.
Fascinating. A lot of famous people have been in the Navy who, Clint Eastwood
Hmm.
and I've just
We,
said
we all
JFK.
kind of know a particular one played for the Spurs.
Yes. Yeah. Rather tall. And then they stuck
Yeah.
him in a submarine, if my memory serves correct.
For an athlete, few things are worse than having to compete on a slick surface. Well, my friends Tom Rose and Matt Olin have solved this conundrum by creating Grip Spritz. Grip Spritz offers a wide array of shoe-to-court traction products that are not only highly effective, but also affordable, easy to use, and easy to transport. It's no wonder Grip Spritz has become the official traction solution for the Ohio High School Basketball Coaches Association and the National High School Basketball Coaches Association. Take it from me, if the OHSBCA and the NHSBCA are making Grip Spritz their official court cleaning product, Grip Spritz simply has to be the best on the market.
Right, right.
Unreal. Did you get to travel abroad?
Yes, we did we called it the Mediterranean tour.
Okay.
So we did the Southern Mediterranean. So we went to see Spain, Italy, Greece, Israel, did Tunisia in North Africa, a little island just south of Italy called Malta, and let's see here. And then we went up into Croatia, which is a beautiful country. And then, and that was one of our tours. And then we also did a tour in the North Atlantic where we went up in the northern part of Europe and got to see England and Ireland and France and Norway and Denmark and all that good stuff. So a lot of Caribbean tours.
Yeah. Well, that's really interesting. Did you do 4 years?
I did a full four, and then I did just because of the way the military was and how the ranks were back in the early 2000s, it was really hard to advance. So when I got done with my four, I decided to come home.
I'm assuming it's a beautiful place to come home to.
It is. It is. I mean, you can't ask for anything better.
Another question Pat asked a lot. Tell us about the travel time you have when you play an away game.
Oh, geez, again, we got down to we got reclassed down to 3A. And with us being down in 3A right now, our closest game for our home game is going to be about 15 minutes away, which is we call it a cross valley rival. Our longest trip is about 4 hours.
Okay.
And it's to Gunnison, Colorado. And the only reason why it takes about 4 hours to get there is because we'll go up over a mountain pass, and then depending on the weather, probably stretch out to 6 hours. But Gunnison is probably one of the coldest cities in the state. So
Okay, interesting. One of our Northwest Ohio coaches coached in Denver for a handful of years, and he said that
okay,
the travel time was a little bit different out
yeah.
there and in the Midwest.
I actually feel really bad for Gunnison, Colorado. They're in our league. We just picked we also picked up a school called Middle Park, which is in Granby, Colorado. And when you GPS it, it's about a 7 hour, 6 to 7 hour drive for them. So I just feel bad for them. That's how. But playing in the mountains, that's what you see. So
Right. So they play, stay the night, and go home the next day.
yeah, pretty much. And like for us, what we planned is because there's a school that's an hour away from Gunnison. So we'll go down Friday and play that school, which is Olathe, and then stay the night in a town called Montrose, and then we'll travel over to Gunnison the next morning, play there, and then go home. So
Interesting. Well, when I was researching online, you have a beautiful high school.
thank you. Yeah, it's a really nice school. It's an older school for the mountains. It's a little over 20 years old. So, or actually, it's closer to 30 years old. We're due for a new floor here in the next 3 years. So we're excited about that. So something else that's really fun and exciting now is Colorado finally implemented the shot clock. So we've been going through and setting up our shot clocks in our main gym and ox gym. So
So next year will be your first year for having a shot clock.
yeah, and CHSAA was a little weird about it because they were going to do 4A, 5A, 6A this last basketball season to have shot clocks, and then 1A through 3A was going to do it the coming up season. Well, CHSAA decided, like everybody was scrambling around trying to get it all done and taken care of, and then CHSAA made the decision that everybody from 1A all the way up to 6A is going to do it for the 26-27 season.
Okay, 35 seconds.
Yes, and we've done camps with the shot clocks, and sometimes it feels like an eternity with 35 seconds.
Right, it's over half of a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Who will run the shot clock for you?
So that's been the long-standing debate. CHSAA is talking about giving schools extra grant money and having the officials run it and bringing a fourth official to run the shot clock. They're also been talking about just letting the schools run it and hope for the best. I think they've been really, really pushing forward to having a fourth official there. So,
Yes, Ohio has another season, and then so we're one season out.
mhm.
Indiana's still on the fence, but as it stands now in Ohio, we are going to have one of the JV officials stay and pay them
Mhm.
to run the shot clock.
Okay, it's interesting how the official rotation is for Colorado. We'll have for the JV, and then of course we got the boys, girls, and everything like that. And just how the rotation is. Our JV officials, some of them will will officiate a varsity game, like the girls' varsity game or a boys' varsity game, just kind of flip around there. But they all will do two games. So
So in Colorado, do you play girls then boys on the same night?
yes.
Okay. I've always felt like that was a very smart way to do it.
It's nice, but there's certain schools with one gym that makes for a very long day.
Yes. Yes. And if the officials call every travel from
Oh,
the lower, the freshmen and
mhm,
especially like the freshman girls game or the C team girls game,
mhm.
that can create a long evening.
Yeah. And well, what we do, I do something different. Well, 3A Western Slope does. We take our C team and we put them on their own separate schedule. So they'll play like
Okay.
on a Monday or a Wednesday, and then JV varsity girls will play. The JV varsity girls and boys will play Tuesday, Thursday, or Tuesday, Friday, or Saturday. So
Gotcha. Okay. That
yeah,
makes a lot of sense.
makes it a lot quicker.
Yes, absolutely. Bingo. Well, you have forged a reputation of being exceptional at building programs. Let's spend a couple minutes and talk about how you rebuild programs.
Sure. So essentially, so like at Basalt, the coach that I took over for, he was a great coach. He's actually an instructor for Team USA, like the USA basketball, and he's more of like a consultant. Right. And works with Buck Showalter a lot and all this other good stuff. He stepped down to focus on his family. And so when he stepped down, I gave him a call and I said, "Hey, I'm interested in taking over there." And he was probably one of the guys that really got me into it. He did give me the warning. Sat there and said, "You're going to have to rebuild this program." And I was like, "That's fine. That's what I do." And when I went in, the first thing I did was just told I laid it out as very clear. It's a very clear directive for all the players because during my years of coaching, one thing that we know is athletes. They're like that's why I say athletes are like dogs. They can smell it a mile away. If you're full of it, they know. And so I made a very clear directive with the boys. I told them I was like, guys, this is going to be something new for you. This is going to be something new for the school, and don't expect it as like our success isn't going to be measured off wins and losses this season. Our success is going to be how are we going to hold ourselves accountable? Our success will be how are we going to maintain the discipline when the adversity is not in our favor? How are we going to every day go up against literally face giants every night because we're playing? Well, we had the third toughest schedule last season. We played top 10, actually top 15 schools all season long. So it was one of those situations where it was a character building school for them. So during that entire time when I'm building this program and rebuilding it for this system, the boys essentially had to earn their trust and really work with them on trying to get them to continue to forge ahead. So, and then as we were start building it, the X's and O's really didn't matter at the time. But I implemented a new system while doing this in a system that I never used at Grand Valley. And so this is another reason why I was really excited about building this thing from the ground up because it's a system I've always wanted to use, which was the CLA system or constraint-led approach, which is gaining more popularity through colleges. NBA is really running it really hard. It's running rampant and all throughout Europe. So it was a lot of fun to try and rebuild it. And I even told the parents too, it's like it's going to be ugly for the next year or two just because this is something they don't understand yet. So, but yeah, just maintaining the discipline, maintaining the accountability, maintaining a constant repetitive, and just being patient and watching these boys grow through the system. They actually grew through the system a lot faster than I was expecting, just because of the patience. So
Is CLA an acronym?
yeah, constraint-led approach. So,
Okay.
and it's just what it is. It's a system. A lot of coaches, a lot of traditional coaches is what I like to call it. A lot of traditional coaches, it's, hey, here's our X's and O's. You're going to stand over here. You're going to stand on the elbow. I need you in the corner. You're going to be running the point, or you're going to be out coming in through the 45, and then and you're going to be in the dunker spot, and you're going to set these screens at this such and such a time. Traditional coaching, right? The constraint-led approach is, and people get it confused with the read and react. The constraint-led approach is actually handing the keys over to the player and letting them create the offense through a series of triggers, and using and reading the defense on how to run those triggers. So let's look at the pick and roll motion, right? Or the pick and roll trigger. So with the pick and roll trigger, depending on how the defense is going to react with their coverage, is going to depend on if how the pick and roll is going to be ran. The boys will run it that way. Like if they run a drop coverage, they know they can either pull up for a three right off the pick, make them pay with a three, or they can kick out onto the weak side for a three or anything like that. If they decide to blitz them, they'll hit the roller. If they decide to hedge them or ice them or anything like that, they know what they need to do through that. And how I teach the pick and roll is, as we, instead of drilling it, we just play little small-sided games, right? And so they go in at the pick and roll, come in at a different angle.
If you're looking for an easy and affordable way to purchase all of your sporting good needs, look no further than Game One, located in Swanton, Ohio. I've worked with LJ Archambault for 20 years, and I have never worked with a more honest, punctual, and detail-oriented sporting goods salesman. I coached for nearly 3 decades and in 2 different states, and have never worked with a better organization than Game One, and more importantly, a better person than LJ Archambault. It's always game on at Game One.
The defense will have to read it a certain way, try to defend it a certain way at a different angle, and simulate more of a game style structure for the boys, right? So, and when I first did it, it was ugly, but I was patient, stayed the course. It's still a little rough, but it's not ugly anymore.
Very good. So would another trigger be something like a dribble handoff?
Yeah. That in fact, a lot of, so we got our different type of triggers that we run is the pick and roll, the dribble handoff, the zoom action. We also like running the chin action that comes from the print. And we also we do a lot of baseline backdoor cuts, so we love those.
Well, I'd like to have you on this summer on a Zoom clinic
Mhm.
and feature you going over some of this stuff with us. That would be
Sure.
fantastic.
Yeah, in fact, one of the people might have know him. He just took over for the Portland Fire, the new WNBA team, Alex Sarama. He's actually he's actually a mentor of mine for the CLA approach. So,
Okay. Very good. Very good. Well, we'd like to make that happen.
Mhm.
Fascinating. Tell us about your defense.
So defense, I run different types of scheme. We mainly run when we're in our man, we run coverages. So we'll do the pick and roll coverages, and mainly we got a lot of teams that just run really high pick and rolls. So it's a lot easier to run that. And then I do run a 2-on-2 zone defensive scheme. What I like about it is my big men that I usually run are pretty long, and so they're able to just sit there and hold the fort, is what I like to call it. My last big man, he was actually the goalie for football or soccer, so I just told him, like, you're the goalie, nobody scores. And so he just stayed in the paint, got the rebounds and stuff like that for contested anything that he couldn't contest. There's a new defensive scheme that we started running. It's based off of that we call it. It's an old zone called the point zone, and it's actually the defensive scheme that we call it is called the chase defense. And with this chase defense, and I actually learned it from a coach named Coach Nick. oddly enough. And it's the closeouts are different. You don't do a face-to-face closeout. We call it a hockey stop, and we're not necessarily forcing. We're luring the point guards to drive versus trying to keep them from going in the paint. And it's an interesting and fun, and it actually allows the players to be athletes. So those are three different types that I do run. And then I'm not a huge pressing style coach, but when I do, I just run the 1-2. We call it chaos.
So going back to your point zone where you're forcing the ball towards the middle, do you peel
Mhm.
switch on those drives? Is that how you contain the basketball?
No, so what we do is we actually there's no peel switching, none of that situation. So what these hockey closeouts is what we call it. We're actually almost like we're running by the offense, and then but we're right behind them. We get immediately right behind them, and we start applying pressure from behind and start pushing them that way. And so if we wanted to say the players on the left side of the court, we'll just what we end up doing is we'll close out on his right side and force him to go toward the middle that way. And then we're just pretty much we call it a sandwich. So instead of a trap, we sandwich him with the big man that's waiting for him right at the elbow. So and then what we look at it as, and of course the rotation with the points and everything like that. There's various different rules to where the guy that's running the baseline, he will always be strong side. And then what the old point style zone is you always know where your partner is always the opposite, and wherever he goes, you're going to go opposite. So the boys are always doing that. So we're always constantly moving and moving around and having this amoeba style look almost, and it almost looks like a 1-3-1
Mhm.
when you're trying to make it on the fly adjustment, and it's chaotic at best. And the goal is mid-range shot, and we don't care what the results are. We just want them to shoot mid-range shots because statistically in high school basketball, that's the worst shot to take.
So in this 1-1-3, your center travels block to block and then maybe up above the volleyball line at times.
It's all the paint. He doesn't go outside the paint, so he'll go block to block up to the free throw line, and that's all he does. So, and he will always be in line with the ball. He'll be like ball you man is pretty much how it's going to look like with
Right.
him. So,
Right. So your wings pick up very high,
mhm.
and do they have their back to the ball and are in a denial stance?
Nope. They're actually my wings are facing the backboard
Okay.
and so or facing the goal. So all my wings, my point, my wings, they're all facing the goal. And because we're trying to invite them to go in, right? We're chasing them. And anytime a shot goes up, and what I like about it is my wings now can see the court a lot better. They can see the rotations a lot better. They see the shot a lot easier. So you're starting to see more rebounds coming from our guards versus what fighting them for box outs or anything like that. They can just go in there and they just fly in there and get the rebounds and everything like that. It's a very intriguing defense, and
Mm-hmm.
it's something that not a lot. The point zone defense, like I said, is a dead defense, and and then you throw this little nuance into it, and it can be ran in a 2-3 zone style as well, and but it just throws people off. And we've actually done it in our 2-1-2, the chase style.
The Temple of Zones. I'm trying to remember
Hmm.
the author of that book, and a lot of there's a lot of similarities.
Hmm.
It's all stemmed from, as you said, Dean Smith's point zone
Yep.
at the University of North Carolina.
And he actually invented that defense because he had a really small team at the time. So,
Lute Olson put his spin on it at University of
mhm.
Arizona, and then obviously everybody knows Jerry Tarkanian took it and made it a completely different animal.
Yep.
Tark had his wings facing the midline.
Hmm.
So, and at
Yep.
times, Tark would have his wings if UNLV was playing someone that they did not want to mess around with. We're not going to let you run your offense. And
Hmm.
they would go out and play man to man on the wing, just all
Yeah.
out deny like we did when I played high school basketball back in the 80s.
Hmm.
And then once the turn of the century came, the pack line hit
Yeah.
with Dick Bennett taking the University of Wisconsin-Madison job.
Hmm.
And then all of a sudden, pack line just exploded.
Right.
And then once the pack line hit, a lot of zone coaches also changed there. As you
We
said, closeouts and things like that as
Yeah,
well.
yeah, and we We wanted to run the pack line because we thought we were going to be running a shot clock. And once they made the decision not to let us not to run the shot clock, we abandoned the pack line because it's effective for shot clock. But when you can sit there and you just, if somebody goes into a stall offense, there's nothing you can really do in the pack line. So
Yeah, the pack line's great until you get behind against a
Mhm.
well-coached team who's going to
Yeah,
milk.
yep.
Interesting. Well, that would be two clinics I'd like to have you on. I'd like to talk about that as well.
hmm
And that would be fantastic. Interesting having the wing face the basket with their
hmm
backs actually to the half core line. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and what I end up doing is they will be in between like whoever's on the wing on the 5 out motion. They'll be in between them and the corner. So, and the reason being is we're inviting them for that pass. We won't try to deflect it necessarily, but we're inviting them to pass it over. And as soon as that ball passes over, the guy's already behind them, forcing them to make that drive. And one of the things, with the research and everything like that I've done, one of the things that most ball handlers, it doesn't matter how good they are, the one thing that they cannot stand is when somebody's behind. So
Yeah,
it just gives that element.
right.
So,
The other thing about that type of defense that I love is the shot from the deep corner or the short corner. That
mhm.
long rebound on the opposite side of the midline is the outlet pass to your fast break.
Yeah, 100%. So you already know it. And in fact, a
It's
fun little story, when we were just rolling it out, we were down by 15 against a team, really good team, very well disciplined. They ran a 5 out, great shooters. We went into the chase defense and we came storming back. They couldn't figure it out, and we added our little nuances. We had a little rule to it to where the minute that the ball went into a corner, we didn't care. You trapped them, and it threw them off, and we ran it for a quarter. And and it was one of those ones where it's like we don't want to really roll it out and just have it as our staple. It's more of like, hey, we want to try and use this to make any kind of comebacks or slow a team down or something like that. Yeah, that's what we did against this team, and we came storming back, got within 5, and for a young team like that going up against a very well coached team, it was pretty impressive for
oh, if you can shave 10 points off of the opposition inside of one quarter,
Yeah,
great.
yeah. So
Brad Morrison and Danny's Cafe, located in beautiful Rossford, Ohio. Danny's Cafe is the ultimate spot for a family-friendly breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or a night out with friends to watch your favorite high school, college, or pro team. Danny's Cafe offers an incredible food experience for people with varying types of palates, and the service is fast and provided by the most hospitable staff in Northwest Ohio. The next time you're on the hunt for a place to grab a bite or cheer on your favorite team, head to Danny's Cafe, located directly across the street from Rossford High School.
So what's your pickup point?
I have them pick up at the half.
Okay.
At the very least, or at the drop dead, it's going to be the volume. That's where I
Yeah.
want to pick up at. If I got a quicker guard, definitely the pull. So, and it's just the sooner I can make them feel uncomfortable,
Yep.
the better our defense can be.
Anything to shrink the court.
Yeah. So,
Well, that's one of the beautiful things about playing an unconventional zone is
mhm.
you can make the court for the opposition feel like they're playing in an old Hoosier-esque gym
Mhm.
where there's not a lot of room outside of the
Mm.
sidelines or baselines.
Yeah. Yeah. And that one coach is like, I don't know what you were running, but that made us very uncomfortable. So,
That's for another coach to say that's a win in itself.
yeah. And that
And
coach that I was going up against, he was actually Division III coach from somewhere out in the Midwest. I don't even remember the name of the college. And he just took over the program. And we were thinking, a lot of us thought that this program that he took over was Plateau Valley High School. It's a 2A school. We thought, they're going to be down, new coach, this and that. Yada. No, they came out swinging. But still a very well coached basketball team. I think they're in top 5 for 2A. So for us to, they took another top 10 school and beat them by 40. So
oh, wow.
they're a very well coached team. So for the boys to do what they did with that team, to come within 5, pretty darn happy with them.
And you had mentioned earlier that you had been able to see Mike Dunlap's teams play at Mesa.
Yeah. Well, we don't. I'm not going to Mesa this year. Normally we do, but where I'm going now is I'm going down to Coach Zach Klaus's camp down in Western Colorado University. He's actually got one of the kids that I don't know what his ranking was for Colorado, but he was really good here on the Western Slope. His name is Jet Wells, an all-state player for Fruita Monument, and so he got him to sign down there. But we're going to go down to his, and then we're going up to the University of Utah this summer to play at their team camp up there. And the main reason being is I want them to see really, really good competition
Hmm.
so they can come home and take it out on the league.
Right. How long of a drive is it from Basalt to the Running Utes?
5 hours.
5 hours. Okay.
Yeah, 5 hour drive.
And so do you guys take a school bus or a Greyhound?
We'll just take a little mini bus. It's
Okay.
varsity only, so I'll take
Okay.
about 14 kids, and we'll just go up there with mini bus.
Yeah.
It's about a 4 day camp. It's a great camp. One year I played Wasatch Academy and got throttled. Played a bunch of little. There was another school, Tilla, I think the name of it was. It was like a 3A state champion from Utah, and so they play really good competition. Probably better than what they'll ever see.
Okay. Okay. I'd heard that both Idaho and Utah had outstanding high school basketball.
I sit there, that region reminds me of Texas football.
Okay.
They eat, sleep, and breathe basketball up there. And it's just amazing competition that you'll ever see. Very competitive. And that's where a lot of it, like private schools are at, like Wasatch Academy and stuff like that. So,
Okay. Okay. Interesting. So when you guys go to Utah, it's a 4 day camp.
mhm.
Do you get to meet the coaching staff?
Yeah, what's really cool is the coaching staff there. I didn't go last summer because when I was going through my transition, but the summer before, I'm drawing a blank to his name of the coach there. But he opened up his workout and let the coaches and the players come and watch the workout with his team and answered he was fielding any kind of questions for us, allowed us to video any of the drills and stuff like that. Got to do handshakes with them, did a little meet and greet, and he came throughout the camp, just was talking to people and just getting to know everyone. It was a great time. And then his assistant, like personal assistant more than
Hmm.
his coach, he actually had like a little coaches session for us. Sat down and we just talked hoops for like an hour and a half. It was
Yep.
supposed to be for an hour and a half, but it ended up going for about 4. So
Right, right. Those are the beautiful things about the overnight camps, getting to
Mhm,
meet other coaches, whether they're college coaches or high school coaches from other states or other
mhm,
areas of your state and get to pick their brains. And
mhm,
that's the thing. When I was a young coach, I was a camp working junkie.
mhm.
And it's a makes for the evenings to be great, not just great learning wise, but social time. You get to meet other people and
Yeah.
it makes it all worth it.
Yeah, and I know University of Wyoming, they just for the first time in 8 years, they just brought theirs.
Okay.
So
The
I know quite a
Cowboys.
few. Yep, I know quite a few area coaches that have been wanting to go there. They're going to be heading up that way. So
Okay, interesting. Now that's a state I've always heard where the travel time is crazy.
it's funny. One of our preseason tournaments we're going to Glen Rock, Wyoming for, and
No kidding.
it's a 6.5 hour drive for us. So, but yeah, they're telling me it's like sometimes your closest competitor is going to be an hour and a half away.
Yeah, interesting. Interesting. So overall, just going back to Colorado high school basketball, what would you pinpoint the style of play being? Is it a more of an up tempo? Is it more of a lockdown, or is it just vary who you're playing?
It depends on what side of the mountain you're on.
Okay.
Yeah, it's so on the western slope where we play, it's a little bit of a combination of run and gun, almost like res ball, like the Navajo Nation,
Hmm.
where we just play a lot of run and gun basketball. And then but then you get into some of these like mountain towns where you get a lot of like Meeker High School in Meeker, Colorado, Steamboat High School. Those teams are very large, like in size. So you get more of a physical style basketball there. And it's really fun to watch because we do a little bit of a combination of run and gun and physicality because we can adapt. And so it's a lot of fun to go up against these teams that are more physical, more traditional, and you up that way. Try to make it a half court type style, and you go out there and you can run up a score on them so fast it's not even funny. But then You go into the state level, like in regionals and the state tournament, and you start playing over on the front range, and those teams are they're like some of the most physical players, and they know how to stretch a floor and just shrink your size so much. And I've seen excellent Western Slope teams not fare very well on the front. The teams that I've taken to region is a case in point.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Interesting. Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is to think
mhm,
about the different, just as you said, the res ball. I know exactly what that is because I went to
mhm.
junior college in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan.
Okay, okay.
Right. So, yeah, you're right. They just get out and go.
Yeah.
Just go. And they want to run you off the floor.
Yep. Yeah, it's like a 7 seconds or less to get the shot
Exactly.
off. Yeah, we do a drill when we know we're going to run a gun team. One of our drills, we call it panic. 5 seconds to get your feet in the paint, and that just helps us get ready to play that style. So, and then, but sometimes you just can't coach physically.
Mm-hmm.
When you're going up against a team like my biggest player last year was 6'2". I went up against a lot of these private schools on the front range. That was the size of their point guard.
Right. Right.
So, I mean, here we are. We're already just outgunned just simply because of that. So that's why the reason why we try to outrun the Denver team.
That's fascinating. No matter what state you're in, it
Hmm.
always comes down to how are you going to beat the private?
Yep. Well, they did something there's a new rule at CHSAA. I don't know if other states have done that. They do a 1.5 multiplier on private schools now.
Mm-hmm.
So, which we're very excited because now a lot of these schools that have just been running the 3A league, now they're going to be going up to 4A unless they figure out how to manipulate their numbers.
Yeah, they will. They always do. It
Yeah.
usually comes from their base enrollment. They'll find a
Mhm.
way to add some kind of laboratory that doesn't count in the,
Yeah.
something, whatever.
I still think they should just have two separate brackets. We
Hmm.
can then go in with throughout the regular season, but when it comes to the state tournament, private school go to one bracket, public school go to another bracket, then have a public school champion and the private school
Right,
champion square off, and then you have your undisputed champion. I think
right.
that's the way it's.
I know Georgia experimented with that. I don't know what the end results were,
Hmm.
but it's definitely a topic that's gaining a lot more traction.
Yeah, so it's just
Especially,
smart.
yep, especially when you add vouchers into that. And so you're getting great athletes who come from families that might not be able to afford to
Hmm.
attend an academy or whatnot, but then they get a
Yeah.
voucher and
Hmm.
that changes the whole dynamic.
Yep, that 100% does. And what's funny too, is like, so I went down to Arizona. I was thinking about coaching down in Arizona, and they actually changed the rule because in Colorado, like with they're real strict on their transfers. Utah or no, Arizona actually allows them one and so they're still eligible for varsity play. So public school, private school doesn't matter. And then if they decide to transfer again, then they are withheld for a half a season of varsity play. They do it one more time entire. So I think they're just trying to combat all the private. So,
Yeah, and combat the transferring. I hate the transferring. I hate it.
oh, yeah, me too.
Uh,
There's a kid that he should be playing for Basalt. 6'6", really long, super athletic, and he's a wing, transferred to Aspen, and Aspen 10 miles down the road. And but he lives in Basalt. His excuse was, well, my dad works for the Aspen School District. That was the excuse, and so they granted it. So
mm. Ugh. Yeah, I'm not a fan of the transfer. I don't like the transfer portal. I don't
no.
like NIL. Well, NIL, I guess I can see in some instances. I don't, but
The po-
I don't like the transfer portal.
Yeah, the positive I like about the NIL, if it was done right, encourages these kids to stay. That's what I like about the NIL if it's done right. But it seems because a lot of, especially like in the NBA or in the NFL too, you got your rookie contracts. Kids with their NILs are making more than rookie contracts.
Mm.
Stay in school for now you can play 5 years. Stay in school for 5 years, make your money, and then go into the league. So
Well, Coach, this has been great. I will definitely get with you sooner than later,
okay.
and we will look at our schedules, calendars. And I'd like to get you on two separate Zoom clinics, one with your offense and then the other one to talk about your defense. We can
Sure.
talk about that here in the next couple weeks or whatnot. But I sure appreciate you joining us on a Sunday afternoon, and
Oh yeah,
this has been
absolutely.
great,
Yeah, thanks for the invite, and looking forward to chatting with you some more about some more hoops.
as am I. Have a great Sunday, and God bless.
All right, God bless. Thank you.